There was something unsettling about the woods, a tension that settled like a heavy fog, one that you couldn't shake, no matter how many times you tried to leave. But I hadn't left. I was here, right where I'd always been, except for the fact that I wasn't. My heart beat wildly in my chest as I trudged through the undergrowth. The leaves were thick underfoot, crunching with every step I took. The air was damp and still, every sound distorted by the surrounding trees. I had come here before, many times, but something was different this night. It felt as if I was walking through a dream, one where reality was slipping away just beneath my feet. I paused, breathless, as the golden retriever beside me darted ahead, sniffing the earth. I didn't understand what had drawn it here, but I knew one thing. This wasn't a normal forest. Nothing about this place was normal. And then I saw it. There, half buried in the dirt, was a boot. His boot. I stumbled forward, knees weak. My fingers brushed the cracked leather, the worn laces that had once been sturdy, now frayed and old. I knew this boot, knew it well. The weight of it hit me like a wave, cold and consuming. He had been here, but how recently? I turned to the dog, my voice barely a whisper. "Where is he?" The retriever didn't respond, but its ears twitched, its tail flicking, and then I heard it. A sound, a rustling, a breath, the unmistakable shuffle of movement from within the shelter. My body froze. Hope and fear collided in a wild rush. Every muscle tensed as my heart pounded in my chest. And then, from the darkness within the torn shelter, came a voice, rough, weak, but achingly familiar. "Isla?" I couldn't breathe. The world felt like it was slipping away from me as my knees threatened to give way. I knew that voice. I had dreamed of it, mourned it. And now it was real. "Finn?" My voice was hardly a sound, barely a breath, spoken as if I were hoping for a miracle. The retriever stepped forward, its tail wagging cautiously. The fabric rustled again. A hand emerged, dirt-streaked, trembling. Alive. Tears blurred my vision as I reached out, my hands shaking as I grasped it. It was warm. Real. "Isla?" Finn's voice cracked, the pain in it sharper than any words could express. 3 years of unanswered questions, of aching emptiness, vanished in an instant. It didn't matter anymore, because Finn was here. Alive. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. My heart was roaring in my ears as I stared at him, his face thinner than I remembered, his clothes tattered, skin pulled tight over his sharp bones. But his eyes were the same. "Isla?" His voice was soft, tentative, almost as if he couldn't believe it was really me. I didn't respond immediately. I couldn't. My body trembled as my eyes filled with tears, my breath coming in ragged gasps. And then I moved. I rushed toward him, pulling him into an embrace, feeling his fragile body shudder beneath mine. His hands were trembling as they wrapped around me, his fingers clutching at the back of my shirt as though afraid I would disappear. "I thought you were gone." His voice faltered. "I thought you were dead." My own words broke under the weight of everything I had carried for so long. His face softened, and his thumb wiped away a tear I hadn't even noticed falling. "I almost was," he whispered, his words shaking with pain. "No," I murmured, shaking my head, my fingers tightening around his. "No, you can't say that." His eyes flickered, his gaze drifting to the golden retriever. The dog sat beside us, watching intently, its tail still. There was something about the way Finn looked at it, like he was seeing something more than just a dog. Where have you been?" My voice cracked with desperation. Finn's jaw tightened, and he swallowed hard. "I never left," he said, his words heavy, raw. "I've been here, trapped." A shiver went through me. "Trapped?" I whispered. He nodded, his fingers tightening around mine as he looked around nervously. The trees around us seemed to shift in the wind, their shadows reaching toward us like twisted fingers. "Trapped where, Finn?" The trees groaned in the wind. Then a sound came from behind us. A branch snapped. Too deliberate, too close. The retriever growled low in its throat. Finn's face went pale. He squeezed my hand. They never wanted me to leave. Fear rippled through my veins. Who? Who didn't want you to leave? Finn's gaze darted to the trees, to the deep shadows where someone was lurking. The silence that followed felt suffocating. The air grew thick, heavy, as though the forest was alive. They weren't people, he whispered. They were something else, something that let me think I was alone. But I wasn't. Not really. I swallowed, my stomach twisting. "What are you saying?" He didn't answer. His gaze remained fixed on the trees. There was movement just beyond the darkness, subtle, unnatural, a flicker of eyes, too many eyes. I sucked in a breath. "Isla, we have to go." But before I could react, the whispering started. Soft at first, like wind brushing through the leaves, but then it grew louder, curling around us like a dark presence. The retriever barked sharply, breaking the eerie quiet. "Run!" Finn hissed, his hand pulling me. We ran, through the trees, through the thickening night, the darkness chasing at our heels. The clicking of bones against bones echoed in the distance. My legs burned, my breath ragged, but I didn't dare slow down. Finn's grip was tight around my wrist, his body stumbling next to mine. The retriever dashed ahead, its body low to the ground as it led us toward some unseen escape. "Don't look back," Finn's voice was strained. I couldn't help it. I glanced over my shoulder. There was nothing visible, but the air hummed with danger as though the world itself was closing in. Then a voice, not Finn's, not mine, not human. "Stay!" The word cut through the night, wrong and ancient. My pulse spiked. "Run!" Finn yanked me forward, pulling me through the underbrush. I didn't look back again. We kept running. The ground beneath me shifted. I stumbled, falling hard, pain shooting through my side. The impact knocked the wind from my lungs, but there was no time to dwell on it. I scrambled to my feet, hands shaking as I tried to rise. But something was wrong. The air felt thick. The forest was gone. The world around us had changed. Finn was gone. The retriever was gone. I was alone. Then I heard it, a shuffling, a breath from beneath me. I froze. The earth beneath my fingers stirred. And then, fingers, pale, thin, crawling from the dirt, reaching. A scream caught in my throat, but it never came. My body went rigid with terror as the dirt stirred again and more hands began to emerge. Cold, clammy fingers stretching toward me. "Who?" I whispered, voice trembling. Finn's eyes widened in fear as he gripped my arm. "Them," he gasped. Before I could process, a shape appeared in the shadows, looming and dark, watching. And then, with a jolt of panic, we ran again. Every step I took, I felt their eyes on me, felt them pulling at my thoughts, at my soul. We were close now. I could see the light of the porch, flickering through the trees. Safety, I thought. But when we reached it, the door creaked open by itself. A shadow stood in the doorway. Too tall, too wrong. It spoke. My mother's voice, too calm, too practiced. "Come home." I felt Finn's grip tighten. "Run!" he hissed. And then I saw it. The figure tilted its head, a sound that didn't belong to anyone human. "Where are you going?" The door slammed shut behind it, and the world went black.